Good morning. Thank you for joining us live here on India Today's social media handles. I'm Akshita Nandagopal, joining you this Monday morning with all the top national and international stories that you need to know about, all that's happened over the weekend and what's expected in the days to come as well. Let me begin with the story that's got us all concerned, the Omicron variant. Now, we've been talking about this for the last many weeks, but right now what we're seeing is the number of cases going up across the country. Over the weekend, in fact, you've had cases being reported in Karnataka, in Kerala, in Telangana. There have been cases in Delhi too. And what that's translated to is that the number of Omicron cases in India has gone above 150. In the weekend alone, there have been over 50 cases that have been reported, and that itself tells you why we need to be worried, why we cannot afford to let our guard down currently. Over 153 cases, and if you really look at the breakdown, it's Maharashtra that's the worst affected, then is Delhi. And this is a trend really we've seen since the start of the pandemic, that it starts with states like Maharashtra, where there's a lot more, of course, activity in the sense that there's more travel, international travel, airports have higher surveillance, etc. So because of these cities being massive major transit hubs, you see a lot more cases first being reported here. And what we know about the Omicron variant is that it's highly transmissible, more transmissible according to experts than any other variant so far. It's not as severe, so that's the only positive. But the fact that it's so transmissible means that all of us have to be doubly, triply careful. And the reason I keep highlighting this is because even yesterday in the national capital, and you can catch those reports on India Today, of how overcrowded markets are, everyone gearing up for the holiday season, throwing caution to the winds, they're traveling. You're seeing a lot of people also going to markets, not wearing masks. There's no question of social distancing. This is the last thing we need, because it's these kind of things that really lead to a massive wave. Don't forget what happened with the second wave as well. And what experts are also pointing out is the fact that you look at the situation in, for example, the United Kingdom, where the number of cases that are being reported right now is more than ever. Even from the start of the pandemic, right now, the UK is reporting more cases than before. And that tells you how transmissible the Omicron variant is. The United States, Dr. Anthony Fauci, who essentially is leading the healthcare system there, has made it very clear that we must brace ourselves for the inevitable. He's saying that what's happening in the UK is no doubt going to happen in the United States. And it's with that mindset that we also need to ensure that we're prepared, that almost every single time, whether it was the first wave or the second wave, it's almost a month after cases spike in Europe and the United States that you see cases spiking here as well. So just because right now things seem to be under control, don't take things for granted. A month from now, we could see things worsen, which is why we need to take corrective steps immediately. State governments are all prepping up. The reason I'm highlighting time and again that we need to do our bit is because the authorities have said that, look, we're already focusing on being prepared for any eventuality. Most of the state governments have put forth very elaborate norms at airports for upping surveillance, not just for international travelers, but many of them for domestic as well now. But beyond that also, the Delhi government, for example, is going to be holding a very key meeting today where there's going to be a discussion on what kind of curbs need to be put in place for the New Year's, for also Christmas. So the holiday season, expect more norms being put in place, more restrictions in place, and that's the right way to go about it. There's no question of a lockdown. I know that a lot of you keep asking questions about whether there's going to be a lockdown. Right now, the authorities have said there's no question of a lockdown, but of increased curbs, like what we're seeing in Maharashtra. Prohibitory orders have already been put in place there. So Section 144 is imposed, which means no mass gatherings will be allowed on Christmas or New Year. No big bash parties are going to be allowed. Gatherings at beaches, all of that not allowed. I'll again say that, the onus is on us to ensure that we keep Omicron at bay. Let me also get you all the other stories that we're tracking this morning. What's happening in Punjab? Months to go for the elections, but over the weekend, there's been a lot of outrage over what played out in Punjab. An attempted sacrilege has led to a lynching in Punjab. This attempted sacrilege incident of the holy books of Sikhs happened in the Golden Temple, after which a man was lynched to death. And the reason there was a lot of outrage was over the incident. Of course, the sacrilege, the attempted sacrilege was condemnable. The lynching too condemnable. But most of the politicians, because you've got elections around the corner, came out to condemn the sacrilege, and there was an absolute stone cold silence on the lynching. Not one word of condemnation on that. The Punjab Chief Minister has also assured that there will be a detailed investigation into exactly what has happened. He said that we strongly condemn the most unfortunate and heinous act to attempt sacrilege of Sri Guru Granth Sahib in the Golden Temple. He's also said that there will be action against all those involved. He's hinted also at a conspiracy. So a lot of politics that's playing out. But as I mentioned, everyone is condemning the act of attempted desecration, nothing about the lynching. One man has died in this, was beaten to death in the Golden Temple. All of this, of course, has brought back memories of what happened 6 years ago, the sacrilege cases that till date dominate Punjab politics. And the fact that this kind of an incident has happened now with months to go for the elections, keep in mind that there will be endless politicking over this, but let's just hope there's justice on two fronts, on the attempted sacrilege and also in the case of lynching. We will be tracking the latest updates on this, particularly because, in several parts of Punjab, there's a high alert that's been sounded, a lot of tension that prevails in many areas over this particular incident. Beyond that, what else is making stories today? In Parliament, the winter session continues. This is the last stretch, the last week of the winter session of Parliament. So what's expected today? Two things that I want to apprise you about. One is, that we're going to be seeing a bill to amend the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act. So the marriageable age for women will go up from 18 to 21. I'm sure a lot of you are lauding this step, but it's also triggered a huge debate here in India. What this will mean once the age is raised, marriageable age for women is raised, is that the marriageable age for both men and women is the same now at 21. This bill is going to be introduced in Parliament. The Cabinet had approved this a few days ago. The government is saying this is the need of the hour to keep with the changing times and to ensure that women also get the same kind of opportunities as men, so that women have a chance to go ahead and finish their education before the prospects of marriage turn up for families. The reason there's such a huge debate on this is because if this amendment is passed, you're going to be seeing changes in personal laws, in laws of every religion. And with that being brought about, it will mean that everyone will have to come on board. Something like child marriage is an issue, of course, that unfortunately is still prevalent in India. And this kind of an amendment perhaps will change that, which is why there are many who are saying this is the need of the hour and has lauded the step that men and women have the same marriageable age. There are others who say that this is not practical. So we will track all the reactions that come in on that, and we're not really sure what the opposition stand is on this. Some leaders have opposed it, some have said they're for it. So we'll see when it's introduced in Parliament whether it's smooth sailing or not. But in the winter session, again, what you're going to be hearing if you tune in live to either the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha is a lot of sloganeering. This is over the suspension of the Rajya Sabha MPs, an issue that's essentially dominated the winter session of Parliament. Today, to end the deadlock, the government has invited 5 opposition parties. That's the Congress, TMC, Shiv Sena, the CPI and CPIM. These are the 5 parties from where the MPs have been suspended, which is why only they've been invited. But there's outrage over this. The opposition is saying, invite us all. You're trying to break opposition unity. Why are you selectively inviting only some parties? So in the hours to come, we'll really know if the opposition is going to attend that meeting or not. They've also said, why has this meeting been called now? We've been protesting for so many weeks. Last leg of the winter session. Now you're attempting to break the deadlock. So the opposition is not really impressed by this outreach from the government, and we'll see whether this resonates in Parliament or whether finally we'll see some sort of a breakthrough, even if it's in the last week of the winter session. Before I wrap up this broadcast, I just want to also get you an update on how there's a cold wave that's gripped parts of North India, like in Delhi, where I am. The temperature this morning went down to 3 degrees Celsius. Unheard of this time of the year for temperatures to dip to this kind of a low. This cold wave conditions, according to the Met Department, is going to last for another 1 or 2 days. In parts of Punjab, parts of Uttar Pradesh, The temperatures have also dipped even below what we're seeing in the national capital, and this is going to be the condition according to the Met Department for the days to come because of strong Himalayan winds. If you live in Delhi, you know that there are very strong winds right now and extremely cold winds. So we'll get you the latest on the cold wave. Of course, all the live updates on the temperature, etc. is up on India Today's social media handles as well. That's it from me on this